So, there is a full set of terms in your book. You should familiarize yourself with that, but you should definitely know the basic coordinate system that we talk about, the sides of an animal. So anterior means the front, posterior means the butt, ventral means the belly, dorsal means the backside. Sometimes you have to think hard about which side is which if you think about yourself, because we don't walk on all fours. Our dorsal side is now our backside, so that's not quite right. Remember, the dorsal side is part of the spine. Think of the dorsal fin, which is famous on a shark or a dolphin. Okay, that's dorsal. Posterior. All the other ones are good too. Ventral, not ventral. Caudal rostral is the same as the anterior posterior axis. Rostral's the head. Medial means toward the midline. Lateral is toward the outside. Just go through those and make sure that you're intelligible on those. Today we do two things. We do the guts and we do the external anatomy. So make sure you get all the fancy names for the nostrils, the ears. Make sure you examine the gender. Make sure you can identify the papillae for the female. Make sure you can identify the scrotum for the male. Actually, that's on another slide, but I'll just skip through it then. Make sure you do everything in your book with the umbilical cord and so forth. Be able to identify parts of an intact pig. Hooray. Yes, here's this. So again, fancy words for things you want to call by very common names. Thank you. There we got it. Do compare their anatomy to yours in terms of joints. Where's their wrist? Where's your wrist? Where's their elbow? Where's your elbow? Does it all bend the same way? It's one of the exercises in the books. Do that. It's not necessarily intuitive. Make sure you rope your pig down. Again, I don't think there's anything novel on this, except it's your first look at the genitalia. So the male should bulge out a little bit here. Typically these sacs are not so flush. They're going to be deflated, but you'll see that it's a distinguished area for that. And the ladies have a little finger-like protrusion sticking out. That's the genital papillae. I don't actually know how to say the word, but remember, anything in anatomy that looks even vaguely like a finger is called a papilla, whether it's on the cell, tissue, or an anatomical level. Here they are again. I don't think that this is a typical image for one of the girls, but just remember that where you might think of the female genitals as a whole, really they protrude for the pig. Don't confuse it with the end of the gut. And again, the guys will just have kind of a flap that you'll be able to identify down there. When you open this up, do pay particular attention to the diagram in your book. That kind of U-shaped cut will come in very handy. It'll keep things tidy so that when you have to later go in and get the respiratory system, your tissues will be nicely preserved for that. Again, there's layers to the skin. Try to probe them, but don't spend forever on them. The U-shaped cut that goes down toward the pelvic region is particularly handy for keeping the umbilical veins and the ureters and all that from being damaged by your incision. So just going down the middle is not a great idea. So do pay attention to that format. What can I say? This is a great labeling of everything you need to know once you crack open the mouth. And I'll just give you this for your reference. Keep in mind, note that these incisions here go really far back. So this was a lot of cranking on the scissors to get this jaw open this far. And you need to do that in order to get to this to the soft parts and the epiglottis and glottis here. Okay. Close up, you can review on your own. I still don't think we're opening up the neck today, are we? I don't think so. But when it comes to that, we'll talk about it. I guess in the meantime. These are in here. But okay, so when we get to the actual cavity, Please don't get the questions wrong on the test about the big, obvious structures. The liver's right there, taking up most of the room. You're going to have to manipulate it. Lift it up, move it to the side, and so forth. Be able to distinguish the different parts of the intestine from the bottom, the colon, the large intestine, the duodenum where they link up and also get... we don't technically cover the jejunum here, so we just say duodenum and say that's in between that and the small intestine. And it gets inputs from the bile ducts, is the other fact that we're really keen on here. So there's a major digestive function to that, where those bile salts are important for absorbing fats and just emulsifying the food in general. Okay, so it's another step in your digestion that's important. What was the thing that... Sorry, I lost track of something. But you're going to have to lift up the liver to get to the pancreas and the bile duct. Not the bile duct, but rather the gallbladder. That should be a deflated sac. Some of these are extremely non-self-evident. So again, look around to your peers for better examples. The pancreas, there's a medical saying, and you're going to catch me on record here cursing. There's a medical saying that says, you don't fuck with the pancreas. Why? Let's phrase the question this way. Pancreatic cancer is one of the most lethal. Why? We got toxins, susceptible, so it could be a highly proliferative tissue, for example. The real answer is very practical. It's very hard to detect. It's not here, it's not here, it's in the middle of everything. Moreover, if you have to perform surgery on it, it's this diaphanous, this web-like kind of structure that's hard to just keep intact. So just snipping on it is extremely destructive in and of itself if you can actually get to it. So it's one of these really practical considerations we've mentioned for medicine. So you don't want to get pancreatic cancer. Moreover, because it's so internal, it's generally detected really late. Now, why am I talking about that here? Because your pancreas, despite the fixation, may just be a bunch of goo. Okay? So we'll look for the best sample and point that out to you. So I think that this pig in particular was fairly fresh, but in an ideal world you would see the pancreas as kind of this fatty looking substance. Again, maybe a couple of curdles or grains, all very just webby stuff. Okay, the gallbladder, I think you can actually see in this one, there might be a better picture coming up, is something like here. It's over on the pig's right side, your left, if you're looking at it head up. Yes, indeed. Here's a nice gallbladder. The liver's very obvious. You need to know the directions on your stomach in general. Actually, I should highlight this for you. So, one of those famous write this down kind of things. You need to know the sphincters. Where are each of the valves? What are they good for? What chamber do they allow the progression toward? So this is the first of many things where we'll ask you to trace the path of X through this system. So this will be trace the path of food through your pig from the mouth to the colon. Later we'll ask you to follow the path of air, then the path of blood through the heart and the veins, then the path of the germ cells and so forth. So all these different systems, be able to be tracing them from start to finish. And when you're talking about the digestive system, normally you're going to work on a piece of food for a while, go through specific functions, toss it around, mix it with acid, say in the stomach, and then pass it along something else that does a different thing to it. Extraction, dilution. The large intestine, for example, takes water out of the sample. Okay, that should be all that. Again, nice picture of gallbladder. Do note that your sample, your pigs are injected with dyes. Ideally, there'll be blue veins, red arteries. However, this doesn't always work perfectly, so don't consider it a hard and fast rule. I have to look up cecum for you. I think it comes up. I think it's the place where we store bacteria like we store in our appendix. Don't forget the spleen that kind of peels off on the side here. It's typically pinkish.